It's crazy, right? Like, you see these young guys, so much come into the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
And then off the court, it's just problem after problem. Ja Morant, I mean, the guy's highlight reel
Oh, unbelievable.
is just unreal.
Unbelievable.
But the headlines, too.
Yeah.
They just keep coming.
They never stop.
So today, we're diving into all that.
We are.
All the different sides of this whole Ja Morant situation.
Yep.
What are the real consequences?
Right.
We're looking at your notes, April 7th, 2025. You've got stuff there from Nightcap.
Yeah. Nightcap. Got some Gills Arena in there, too.
Gills Arena, right?
Uh-huh.
And then that Club 520 podcast transcript.
Yes.
You found that on YouTube.
I did, yeah.
So we're going deep.
We're going deep.
We're going beyond the surface.
Beyond the headlines, exactly.
More than just like, oh, here's what happened.
Right.
So first up, we've got to look at what the veterans are saying. What advice are they giving Ja? Your notes, they highlighted Kenny Martin Sr., Kmart, right?
Yeah.
On Nightcap.
Yeah.
This is the podcast, like raw takes from former players.
Exactly.
They don't hold back.
No.
And Kmart had a really interesting point about why this advice from vets, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, and this was fascinating to me. He really emphasized that to really make a difference, to have your advice land, you need a genuine connection.
Outside of basketball.
Outside of basketball, personal connection, a bond built over time. It's not just a quick word in the locker room.
Right.
It's not just like, hey, keep your head up.
It's deeper.
It's deeper than that. It makes you wonder, these young guys, they've got this whole machine around them from such a young age. Are those real relationships, the kind Kmart's talking about, are they even possible?
That's a good question. And Kmart didn't shy away either from saying, just talking, it might not be enough.
Not always, no.
Especially with all these incidents with Morant. It's like at a certain point, you can talk and talk and talk. But
if the actions aren't changing,
is anything really changing? And then he brought up this huge point. It's in your notes, right?
Yeah.
About the influence of your immediate circle, your family.
Yes, and I think this is so critical because he's basically saying that often that inner circle, those closest to the player, they hold more sway than anyone else, more than any coach, more than any teammate, more than any veteran trying to give advice.
Wow.
And he even said, I've got to quote it here, when your immediate surroundings and immediate family are not helping the situation, there's nothing that me as a vet can say to you.
It's like you can give a plant all the water and sunlight in the world.
Exactly.
But if the soil is bad,
it's not going to thrive.
It's not going to thrive. Then Kmart, he brings up this idea of yes men.
Yeah.
People surrounding these stars and how that just makes everything more complicated.
It's a huge problem. You've got these people who are afraid to give real feedback because they're worried about losing their position, losing access.
Makes sense.
So the player ends up in this bubble and they're not getting the honesty they need to actually grow.
And that makes you wonder, who is giving Ja Morant real feedback?
That's the question, isn't it? Who's telling him the truth?
So, okay, if veteran advice, it has its limits. And this close circle, it can be like an echo chamber.
Right.
Did Kmart offer any solutions, any ideas for who could make a difference?
He did. He talked about this idea of an elder statesman in the NBA.
Okay.
Someone who's been there, someone who's faced similar pressures, who Ja might actually look up to.
Someone who walked the walk.
Exactly.
Not just talk the talk.
And the thought is that this kind of figure, with that respect, that experience, maybe they can get through where others haven't.
So it's about finding that one voice, that one person who really resonates.
Exactly.
So big picture, how did Kmart kind of wrap up his thoughts on dealing with a situation like this?
He believes it's a collective effort. The family needs to be involved, the team, the Grizzlies organization, anyone trying to guide Ja. But he kept coming back to that inner circle.
Right.
If that's not a supportive, honest environment, the best advice in the world might not matter.
It all goes back to that.
It does.
Okay, so let's shift gears.
Okay.
We've got to talk about this finger gun thing.
Yeah, the finger guns.
Big headlines.
The big headlines.
Your notes have all the details from Gil's Arena.
I do.
Wow.
What happened?
So Ja Morant, he does this finger gun gesture, not once, but twice.
Oh, wow.
In the first quarter against the Miami Heat after scoring.
Okay.
And the NBA, they slapped him with a $75,000 fine.
$75,000.
$75,000 for a finger gun.
For a finger gun, that seems like a lot.
It does, doesn't it?
Had he ever done this before? Was it a new celebration?
That's the interesting thing. The Gil's Arena guys, they pointed out that this wasn't totally new for Morant. He'd done similar stuff in the weeks before.
Really?
Yeah, and it seemed like no problem. No one said anything. So why the big fine this time?
Well, your notes, they mentioned other players being very aware of the whole situation.
Right, right.
Like they knew Morant was under a microscope.
Yeah.
The hosts talked about Marcus Sasser from the Pistons
Okay.
and a guy from Dallas.
Yeah.
They both started to do a similar gesture.
Finger gun.
Yeah, like a finger gun, and then they stopped.
Really?
Like they suddenly realized, uh-oh, maybe not a good idea.
They saw what happened to Morant.
Exactly.
So this is the big question, right? Is the NBA unfairly targeting Ja Morant for this?
Yeah, is it too harsh or is it justified?
What were the arguments on each side?
On one hand, you've got people saying, look, other players do this all the time.
Right.
No big deal.
No huge fines.
Right. Why is Morant different?
But then on the other side,
On the other side, you've got Morant's history.
the gun incidents.
Exactly. You can't just ignore that. It creates a whole different context. And Kmart actually talked about this too.
They did.
Yeah, he said guys with off-court issues, they're held to a different standard.
They're under more scrutiny.
Way more scrutiny. Your past follows you.
So it's not just the finger gun itself.
No, it's the whole picture.
You mentioned C.D. Lamb in the NFL.
Yeah, they brought that up on Gil's Arena too,
He did.
to show that leagues have the power to control these things,
Celebrations.
to protect their image. And some people think that's what the NBA is doing with Morant. They're making an example out of him
Because of his past.
because of his past.
But the guys on Gil's Arena, they also said a finger gun isn't inherently aggressive.
Yeah, one of them was pretty adamant about that. He's like, it's not a violent gesture on its own.
But then...
But then they brought up Memphis.
Oh.
The gun violence there,
Yeah.
it's a huge problem. And they were like, hold on, in that context, it takes on a whole new meaning.
It's like Morant's actions. They have a ripple effect.
They do. And especially in a place like Memphis, where kids are looking up to him, it can send the wrong message.
So it's this complex mix of, is it just a harmless gesture or is it potentially glorifying something really dangerous?
Exactly.
And the debate keeps going, is it fair to penalize him so harshly for something that seems so small?
Right.
But then the counter argument is he keeps doing it.
He does. Even after warnings, suspensions, everything is like, he's not getting it.
Yeah.
There was even a quote, it was pretty blunt, he's giving them the bullet,
Wow.
meaning he's giving the NBA the ammunition to come down hard on him.
So what did Gil's Arena suggest? How can the league handle this consistently?
They talked about maybe a league-wide ban on these kinds of gestures.
Oh, interesting.
No finger guns for anyone.
That way it's fair.
Exactly. No one can say they're being singled out.
And then they had some fun ideas for new celebrations.
Oh, yeah. They were brainstorming,
Yeah.
Spider-Man poses,
Yeah.
throwing grenades, which, might still be a bit problematic, but
Chuckles.
they also suggested he could just dance, be happy, celebrate without any gestures.
Right.
And, of course, the Nerf gun jokes. Nerf guns. Day signing.
Chuckles. And the John Nerf PE.
The John Nerf PE, yeah.
That was funny.
That's pretty funny. But it also highlights that Morant needs to distance himself from real firearms for his brand, for everything.
So the whole finger gun controversy, it really comes down to Morant's past, the NBA wanting to look good, and this ongoing question of, is he being treated unfairly, or is he just not understanding the seriousness of it all?
I think that's a really good summary.
Okay, let's move on to Kmart's take on T. Morant, Ja's dad.
Yeah.
This was a nightcap, too, right?
Yeah. Pretty explosive stuff.
He did not hold back.
Not at all.
Your notes say he basically put the blame on T. Morant.
Directly.
Yeah.
He said, I put a lot of this on T. Morant. I put a lot of this behavior on him.
Wow.
Strong words.
What was his reasoning? Why blame T. Morant so much?
He started by saying, look, you give young guys some leeway.
Right.
They're figuring things out.
Especially in the NBA.
Exactly. Big stage, lots of pressure.
Yeah.
But Kmart's point was that when Ja's behavior started hurting his career, his brand, his whole future, T. Morant should have stepped in.
And really laid down the law.
Yeah, like, hey, son, we need to reevaluate some things.
This isn't working.
Exactly. Kmart thought T. Morant should have been saying, go back to the drawing board, son. Stop doing these things at games. Move different.
Live different, yeah.
Change your approach. Change your behavior.
It sounds like Kmart thinks T. Morant needed to be more of a guiding force.
He does. And he brings up that point again about the inner circle.
Right.
He's basically saying that if those closest to Ja, including his father, aren't giving him the right guidance, then nothing else matters.
Not the veterans, not anyone.
He said it again. When your immediate surroundings and immediate family are not helping the situation, there's nothing that me, as a vet, can say to you.
It's all connected.
It is.
And Kmart even hinted that maybe T. Morant is part of the yes men problem.
Yeah, without saying it directly, he's suggesting that maybe Tia Morant isn't giving Ja the tough love he needs.
Not being honest enough.
Maybe not.
So even though Kmart called for everyone to step up, he really put T. Morant in the spotlight.
He did. He basically said, this is on you.
So all this, the finger gun, the veterans' advice, T. Morant, it's got to have a real impact on Ja Morant's brand, his money, his future.
Oh, absolutely.
Your notes touched on this, both Nightcap and Gil's Arena.
They did. Kmart was very blunt. He said, Morant doesn't realize how much money he's actually costing himself with this.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, at least.
And he's got that Nike deal, right?
He does, but Kmart's point was, Nike isn't everything. There are so many other opportunities out there.
And Morant's missing out.
Big time.
Because of his behavior.
Exactly.
And Kmart, he even talked about how Morant could have been the face of the NBA.
He did. He said, a lot of people thought he could be the face of the NBA.
That's huge.
It is. Think about the endorsements, the global recognition.
But it's all slipping away.
It seems like it. And Gil's Arena, they picked up on that too.
He did.
Yeah, they talked about how Morant used to be seen as this people's champ.
Right.
Like Anthony Edwards, another young star, super popular.
But now,
Now it's different.
what are they saying?
They're saying Morant is starting to look like the villain.
Oh, wow.
And that can really hurt your brand.
People don't want to root for the villain.
No, they don't.
And they had those jokes, remember?
Oh, yeah. Nerf guns, they shining. To the John Nerf PE.
It's funny, but it's also serious.
It is. They're saying Morant needs a total image makeover.
No more guns, real or fake.
Exactly.
So, the message is loud and clear.
It is.
Ja Morant's actions, they're costing him big time.
Financially, his brand, his reputation, everything.
Okay, let's step back now.
Okay.
Look at the whole picture. Ja Morant's behavior, the NBA's response. What do we see when we put all these pieces together?
We see a young guy, incredibly talented, but he keeps making bad decisions.
The guns, the gestures.
Yeah, even after warnings, suspensions, fines, you've got Spencer Haywood through Kmart saying Morant is ruining his career.
And Kmart's point about David Stern, the former commissioner, that was really interesting.
It was. He thinks Stern would have come down way harder on Morant.
No messing around.
None. Kmart said Stern would have been like, you're not bigger than that logo.
Than the NBA.
Than the NBA, than the whole league, than the Shield, he called it.
And we keep coming back to this question of unfair targeting.
We do. It's a real debate.
Are they being too hard on Morant, or does his past justify it all?
Some say it's unfair. Others say he's brought it on himself.
Yeah.
And then you have Kmart saying it's on Team Morant, the dad.
He's not doing enough.
Not guiding his son the right way.
And the potential consequences for Ja, they're huge.
They are.
Not just the money he's losing now, but what about his future?
Endorsements, contracts, his whole career could be affected. And Gil's Arena, they made some interesting comparisons.
Oh, yeah.
To CeeDee Lamb in the NFL, his celebrations getting shut down, and the NBA dress code under Stern.
Oh, right.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
They were saying the league has a history of setting boundaries, of enforcing rules, even if it's not popular.
And then you've got that Club 520 podcast. They talked about that big fine, $575,000.
Right.
For something Morant said on a morning show.
Yeah, and then right after that, he's doing the finger guns again.
It's like he's not learning.
It's like he's not connecting the dots.
So we've got all these different opinions, but everyone seems to agree on one thing.
What's that?
Are hurting him.
They are.
And they're hurting the NBA.
It's a mess. A talented guy making bad choices, and everyone's trying to figure out what to do.
So there you have it. A deep dive into Ja Morant. We talked about veteran advice, family influence, the finger gun controversy, the money, the brand, the whole thing.
It's a complex situation.
It is. But now it's your turn to think about it. What do you think will determine Ja Morant's future? The advice he gets? His dad's influence? The NBA's response?
Or something else entirely.
It's a lot to consider. Go back to your notes, listen to those podcasts again, and see what you think.
It's a fascinating case study.
It is, and we want to hear your take.